Okay, so let's take a look at the second part of parabolas, because I know you all are so excited to learn more about them. Okay, we're going to start off by talking about some facts of our parabolas. First of all, if you recall me mentioning before, your parabolas are either going to open up or down, or they're going to open left or right. And depending on which direction they're opening, you're going to have different equations. So first of all, the opening up or down, that's your standard equation that you guys are used to that we talked about last semester. The y equals x squared, basically. But if you put it in vertex form, it is y equals a times x minus h, quantity squared, plus k. And you can read off h and k as your vertex, right? If you're opening left or right, however, what you're going to find is that in the equation, your positions for x and y have switched. So now instead of it being y equals x squared, it's now x equals y squared. So we have x equals a, we still have an a, times y minus k, quantity squared, plus h. And h and k is still your vertex, we still use the same letters. You just have to pay attention to where the h and where the k are coming from. So in this point it's backwards, right? You can't just go left to right. The k is with the y, so that's the y coordinate, and h is the x. And you take the opposite sign for the y, since it's within the parentheses, and you keep the sign for h, because it's not. Okay, so then the other thing just to remember, how do you know, is it up or down, or how do you know it's left or right? So up or down, once again, was if a is positive or negative, right? Left or right is the same thing. Think of your coordinate plane. In the x direction, the left side, that was the negative values, the right side are the positive values. So if a is positive, it opens to the right, and if it's negative, it opens to the left. Okay, so the next thing that they're going to ask you to do is they're going to ask you to figure out the coordinates of your focus, as well as the equation of the directrix. And what you have to understand is the relationship between the vertex, the focus, and the directrix, and how they all kind of piece together. And it helps if we look at this diagram that we took. It's a little tweaked, but that initial diagram that we looked at the definition of a parabola. And if you recall, it said that any point on the parabola is going to be the same distance away from the focus as it is from the directrix. Well, if we move that point down here to be the vertex, then the distance between the vertex and the focus is going to be the same as the distance between the vertex and the directrix. And that distance is actually calculated by doing this calculation 1/4 times the absolute value of a. So what that means is this distance right there is 1/4a, and that distance is also 1/4a. So if you can figure out what this number is, say it's 5, I don't know, I'm just making that up, and you know your vertex, you just add 5 to get up here, and you subtract 5 to get down there. It's pretty simple. Okay, so ignore that big, horrendous table that's in your textbook, and don't try to memorize all sorts of different formulas and equations and everything. Just understand the relationship between the vertex, the focus, and the directrix. And then if you can remember this one calculation, you're set. You're good to go. Okay? So here's your parabolas opening up or down. And here are your parabolas that are opening left and right. I just really want to quickly show, your focus will be inside your branches, and then your directrix will be under it in that case. Here's the focus here, your directrix will be above it. Oops, that's horrible. Horizontal line. In the sideways parabolas, there's your focus, and then your directrix is a vertical line. And then here, same thing, here's your focus, and here's your directrix. Once again, horrible vertical line. So just understand the positioning. Once you know your focus, or your vertex, you add to get your focus, subtract to get directrix. If your parabola is opening down, then you're going to subtract to get to your focus, and you're going to add to get to your directrix. Same thing with the left and right parabolas. Here's your vertex, you're going to add to get to your focus, subtract to get to your directrix if you're opening to the right. And it's backwards. For opening left, you would subtract to get to your focus and add to get to your directrix. Either way, all of those distances are all going to be figured out by doing 1/4a. Okay, let's see. Let's actually do an example. All right, so this one's already put into the vertex form. We can easily read off what the vertex is. It's going to be 3, -1. And let's go ahead and graph that. There we go. Let's graph our parabola. I know it says graph down all the way at the bottom, the last thing to do, but I like to graph it first so that I have something to reference when I figure out all the other things. So a is 1/2. We're opening up since it's positive. It's y equals x squared, so it's an up, not a sideways parabola. And since a is 1/2, with our pattern of 1, 1, 2, 4, we're actually going over 1 and up 1/2, and then over 2 and up 2. There we do this on the other side. Okay, so yeah, why not? I'll go ahead and try to do my best to graph it. Okay, that actually turned out better than I thought it would be. Oops, that was not good. Okay, so there's our parabola. So the next thing it asks us to do is to figure out the axis of symmetry. Well, the axis of symmetry in this case is going to be a vertical line, right? And it's going to pass through the vertex. There it is. So you can imagine what the coordinates of this vertical line are going to be. It's going to be x equals 3. You can just read it off, okay? Or you can look, hey, it's the x coordinate of your vertex. Okay, so now time to do the focus and the directrix. Remember that 1 over 4a? Well, let's just calculate what that is. 1 over 4 times absolute value of 1/2 is going to give us 1/2. Okay, so this 1/2, what that means is, and I'm going to go ahead and put my focus right there. I'm going to be adding 1/2 to the y coordinate, because I'm moving up, the y coordinate of my vertex. So I'm going to take this number, -1, and I'm going to add 1/2 to it. So I get -1/2. So that means that my focus is going to be the same x coordinate, because I'm still going over 3 units, and then I start down here at -1 and add 1/2, and I get -1/2. Okay, cool. Next, let's do the directrix. So remember, we're still using this 1/2, that distance, it's just the distance going down now to get to my directrix. So I'm going to go -1 minus 1/2, which gives me -3/2. So there's my directrix. And remember, the directrix is an equation of a line, so it's y equals -3/2. And that's it. So you can see how easy that was. As long as you can figure out the 1 over 4a business and realize what direction you're moving, up, down, is it positive, negative, to get to your focus or directrix. Sideways parabolas, left, right. Okay. So let's try another one. Okay, so now you can see right away, this is an x equal a y squared, so this is going to be a sideways parabola. So, first thing, vertex. Be careful. This number right here is the y coordinate of your vertex. Since there's no h out here, that means the x coordinate is 0. So 0, 1 is going to be our vertex. 0, 1, right here. Okay, next. Since this is a sideways parabola, and it's negative, that means it's going to be opening in this direction, the left-hand direction. And a is 2. So using our pattern, and it's a little backwards because you're not going to the right or left and then up, you're going to go up and then to the right or left. I know that's a little crazy, so if it helps you, just take your whole paper and just rotate it around 90 degrees so it's facing the correct direction for you. But if you don't need to do that, you can just do it directly. So with the pattern of 1, 1, 2, 4, I'm going to go up 1 and over 2, because I have to multiply by 2. And then I'm going to go up 2, and instead of going over 4, I'm going to go over 8, which I think I'm going to run off the page. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll just assume it's somewhere around there. Okay, and then you repeat down below. Okay, here, and roughly right there. Okay, once again, let's try to graph that. I did such a good job last time, right? Okay, and then the bottom part. Okay, there we go. There's our parabola. All right, now my work here is going to run into my parabola. Oh well. Actually, here, I'm just going to get rid of that part of it so that you guys can still see the work. All right, so the next thing we need to do is make our axis of symmetry. So the axis of symmetry is going to be a horizontal line this time, passing through the vertex once again, but it's a horizontal line, so that's a y equals equation. So we're going to do y equals 1 for the axis of symmetry. Okay, so time to do the focus and directrix. That means we have to do the 1 over 4a. And it's, remember, the absolute value because we're dealing with a length or a distance, right? So this should always be positive. And then you have to determine, are you adding or subtracting it to get to your focus or directrix? Okay, so we get 1 over 8. So if we think about it, I'll do little point because it's really small. No, you won't be able to see that. So we'll do big point, even though it won't be accurate. You're going to have your focus on this side of your parabola. It's going to be in the curve right there. And so the distance between that blue point and this red point, this distance is 1/8. But you have to subtract to get there. And you're subtracting from the x, right? So we're going to take this coordinate of your vertex and subtract 1/8. And you get negative 1/8, obviously. So your focus is just going to be negative 1/8, comma 1. You're still going up 1 unit because it's all going to be on that line. Okay, directrix, same thing, only this time the directrix is going to be to the right. It's going to be over here. So you're going to have to add 1/8. So that's just going to be 1/8, right? But this is going to be a vertical line, so that's x equals 1/8. So there you go. And that's it. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too overwhelming, and once you do a whole bunch of problems and practice, it won't be so bad. All right, there you go.